Hello and welcome to episode 78 of This Week in Germany. As always, we'll be bringing the world to Germany and Germany to the world with news for the week beginning the 28th of June 2015. My name's Daniel.
And my name's Rob. Each week we feature stories from the news, society, and culture in the English language. If you want to find out more, including ways to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, head over to our website, thisweekingermany.de.
And this is the week in which the Queen came to Germany. And, Rob, I think the Germans are obsessed with the Queen.
They seem to like her a lot. There were quite a lot of people showing up everywhere that she was going, and I will tell you all about that in our German of the Week segment, as the Queen is the German of the Week.
Are you obsessed with the Queen?
Not so much, but she is a pretty cool person.
She's a pretty beautiful lady.
That is true.
And the German media went absolutely crazy. I mean, it was wall-to-wall coverage. Sometimes it was a bit much, but here you can listen to like 2 minutes at the end of the program. So don't worry, we won't be doing a Queen-themed This Week in Germany. That's not the way it's going to work this week. So, yes, but I think we got some good feedback this week that you'd like to share with us.
Yes, Lewis from our Facebook page said, "Loving the podcast, guys. Been listening a few weeks now, and it's great to hear the latest from Germany once in a while." So thank you very much for your comment, Lewis.
Yes, and if anyone else out there would like to send in a comment about our coverage of Germany and the way we do things, or whatever you have to say, how can people do it?
They can go to our Facebook page. They could go on Twitter. They could go to our website. They could go to a lot of our social media, or they could just send us an email. We make it very easy for anyone that wants to contact us to do so.
And we're expanding our social media as well. We are now on Instagram, instagram.com/thisweekingermany. And you can see some lovely pictures from Berlin on there already. So don't forget to follow us everywhere. And then when you're not listening to the podcast, you can be updated on all the latest on what's happening in Germany, all kinds of things, so you won't miss out. And what news stories can we expect in this edition of This Week in Germany, Rob?
We have quite a few things coming up in our news and brief section. One that I'm excited to tell you about is the Women's World Cup, which Germany and the United States are going to be going head-to-head coming up pretty soon. Also, Heiko Maas speaks out against anti-refugee protests that are going on in Germany, and millions of people are going to be looking at the world's largest sailing event.
Very interesting. And finally, a big play thing, I don't know what you call it. It's like a playground thing, but big. And that is our destination Germany this week.
Yes, we're going to look at the Vitra campus. It is a design, architecture, and interior furniture store campus thing with a giant museum. Oh, they do have a museum, and they also have a giant slide that is also a sculpture, which this place is really, really cool, and I'm excited to tell you about it.
I don't know what you just said. It sounds like a campus school slide museum, but I'm looking forward to it. But let's get started with our top story.
Okay, our top story this week. At Berlin's Tegel Airport, Al-Jazeera journalist Ahmed Mansour was detained by security when he tried to board an airplane leaving the country. It was claimed that there was an international warrant for his arrest ordered by Egypt. Mansour was sentenced last year in a court of Cairo for 15 years in jail for the torture of a lawyer in Egypt. He rejects this charge and says that it was just an attempt to discredit his character. Suddenly, Mansour was released. Why was he arrested in the first place? What forces were behind his release? Daniel picks up this story with journalist Ben Knight.
So why was Mansour in Berlin in the first place?
He was in Berlin because he was making a TV program. That's what he does. He's a TV journalist, and he was interviewing a political analyst from a German think tank called Guido Steinberg, and he was basically quite a critical interview. It was an interview criticizing the Egyptian government and about Germany's relationship with Egypt and how Germany needs to keep Al-Sisi, the president of Egypt, on side. So it was an interview that was criticizing how close that relationship is, and how Germany is essentially willing to sort of sacrifice human rights in exchange for having what they think will be stability in the Middle East, so to speak. So it was a critical interview on both sides, critical to both Egypt and Germany.
And Al Jazeera journalists have been arrested before in Egypt, so in Egypt specifically. So it's quite shocking that an Al Jazeera journalist could be arrested on behalf of Egypt in Berlin. Should he have been arrested in the first place? Is this normal for an international arrest warrant from a country where they have perhaps questionable judicial practices?
No, I mean, it's not normal. And it's also, I mean, for example, for one thing, Egypt and Germany don't have extradition agreement, so they just did it off their own bat. They didn't have any obligation to arrest him. They didn't arrest him in the few days that he was in Germany, so they didn't arrest him when he arrived in Germany. They waited until the last possible moment to arrest him. We don't know why. That's another mystery. There must have been some political negotiations going on in the background for it to take so long. That's what we assume, and it's all very mysterious. Those things. That's one of the questions that should be answered by the government and hasn't been yet.
And what happened in the days after his arrest? Because, well, I mean, how long was he arrested for, and then what happened immediately after?
So he was in jail for about almost exactly 48 hours. He was arrested Saturday afternoon, last Saturday, by border police. They said they'd found the arrest warrant on their system. Now, it got very confusing for a long time because he thought he was told. He said he was told by the police that it was they'd been ordered by the BKA, which is the German Federal Police, to arrest him. The German Federal Police said that it had come from an international arrest warrant. So there's a lot of confusion over what kind of an arrest warrant it was. In the end, it kind of got sorted out that it was an Egyptian arrest warrant that was passed on through the German Federal Police and through what we know as Interpol. But Interpol isn't necessarily just a big international police force. Interpol is mainly a notice board, as one legal expert described it. It's like a pin wall where all the different police forces can pin up their arrest warrants, and then other police forces can pick them up and say, oh yeah, we've got him, and that's apparently how Interpol works. It's not really like there are Interpol officers at airports who pick people up. That's not how it works. In Berlin, they arrested him. They passed him on to the local Berlin state prosecutor because he has jurisdiction in Berlin. And what was quite surprising, they kept him overnight on Saturday night. And what was quite surprising, he was arraigned on Sunday afternoon by a local magistrate who decided to keep him in prison, and that's when things got a little bit more serious. Suddenly it felt like, okay, why is he being kept for 2 nights? Like it seemed like the government, like people were saying, oh, the government could have intervened after 1 night, surely, but no. The sort of justice, the legal system was allowed to kind of take its course. The bureaucracy of it, the arresting magistrate decided to keep him in custody for another night, and people started to get worried, and that's when people took to the streets, and it became much more of a kind of an international diplomatic incident, if you will. Like that's when Egyptian opposition movement in Berlin, they were taken to the streets, they protested outside the prison. Then it got in all the newspapers, all the TV stations around the world, and everyone was saying, why is Germany arresting journalists on Egypt's behalf? And it became a major embarrassing incident, even if it was just some kind of bureaucratic mistake, which I don't really think. I think there must have been something political behind it. But even if it was just a bureaucratic mistake, it was still a massive embarrassment for Angela Merkel and her government.
Yes, especially because Germany is meant to be a place where the press is free, so arresting someone on behalf of a country where the press is not free to report exactly how they want, it was a very controversial thing that it happened in the first place. So, in the end, why was he released?
Well, we don't know. There was no information on the Monday. In Monday morning, there was talk that his lawyers said that there was going to be a hearing, an extradition hearing, in a court in Berlin. The court spokesman said, I don't know anything about any hearing. There was no information given out during the day. It was impossible to reach the lawyers. Believe me, I tried. And it was impossible to reach the state prosecutor. The state prosecutor was just saying it's being considered. His arrest warrant is being considered. And there was like radio silence. No one was saying anything. And probably in that time, throughout Monday, there was this is what I assume what happened. There was this sort of panicked negotiations between the court, the state prosecutor, the German Foreign Ministry, and the German Justice Ministry, who always have to get consulted when there's a big extradition case like this, which has political implications. So the government is always consulted in these kind of cases. So it becomes political. The Justice Ministry, I think it was the Justice Ministry, they released all their communications with Interpol that had anything to do with Mansour to sort of show that they were dead. They released this later, though. They released it later in the day, which to show that they had done nothing wrong, that he'd just been in the system and that he'd accidentally been picked up by the police, and maybe it was the police's fault. But anyway, it was a bit of a mix-up, and so that happened later. Then he was released. He was released then about 3 p.m., 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's fine then." But it did not become clear, and it still hasn't been made clear exactly what was the nature of the negotiations and why he was picked up. And the next day, when he gave the press conference, he just said that the German justice system is great, and I'm glad I'm free. So he was told to not talk about it too much to embarrass the German government.
All very strange and secretive. Do we have to worry whether this will happen again?
I think that, to be honest, no. I mean, it'd be weird if it happened again. It'd be very weird. I mean, it'd be weird if they suddenly arrested a German, an Egyptian journalist in Germany once again. Because it was such a huge incident, it snowballed so fast, and I think it really did get embarrassing. And Germany really has no need to go around arresting Egyptian journalists because. They do want to have a stable Middle East, obviously, and they do have to have close ties with Al-Sisi, and it was a disgrace, and it was also, in fact, in my opinion, a disgrace that Al-Sisi was invited at all to have an official state visit 3 weeks ago, and I think that all that is like a problem, and there's a commercial element to the relationship too, because in that same week, Siemens was given a huge €8 billion deal with Egypt to supply gas and wind power plants, and which is the biggest deal in Siemens history. And I think that all that kind of stuff is a bit murky, and we just don't understand why, why it's so important to Germany to sort of sell out the Egyptian people's human rights for the sake of Siemens and perhaps for some kind of fear that the Muslim Brotherhood is going to take over the Middle East or something. But I don't think it's going to go so far that more Al-Jazeera journalists will be arrested in Germany and sent to Cairo. I mean, that would be very awful.
Thank you very much, Ben Knight, freelance journalist, for joining us here on This Week in Germany.
If you would like to read more from Ben, take a look at his website, benknight.de. And now for this week's News in Brief. Good news for the German women's national football team, that's soccer, for winning their next game in the World Cup playoffs against France. It was a very close game. The scores at the end of normal play was 1-1, and after an additional 30 minutes of extra time, the winner was going to be decided through a penalty shootout. Both France and Germany did an excellent job in the shootout, and both teams scored their first 4 attempts. It all came down to one amazing block on France's 5th attempt to score. The team captain for Germany and veteran player Nadine Angerer made the save and saved the day. Germany's next game will be against the United States, and the winner of that game will play for the title of the World Cup. Germany's Justice Minister Heiko Maas, who's part of the Social Democratic Party, has spoken out and denounced the anti-refugee protests in the country. Tensions have been running high as protests about allowing refugees to stay in Germany have taken place in multiple cities. It has been taken as far as burning down houses where refugees have been living. Maas said that inciting violence against refugees is completely unacceptable. He warned those that rail against foreigners will be confronted and stopped, adding that Germany was no place for xenophobia. It has been a big week in boating for Germany. It was the annual Kiel Week, or Kiel Regatta event that takes place in the northern city of the country. The Kiel Regatta is the world's largest sailing event, which has boat racing, boat shows, concerts, street performances, fireworks, international food, and much, much more. It usually draws about 5,000 sailors, 2,000 ships, and a crowd of over 3 million. Men and women from all over the world represented their countries in a variety of different sailing events. A tragic terror attack in Tunisia was responsible for the death of at least one German citizen, and possibly more who were in the country on holiday. At this time, most Germans reported in the area have been found, but a few are still unaccounted for. In total, 27 people died when 2 shooters came to a resort hotel. The Foreign Ministry has set up a crisis unit in Berlin to organize the German response, and those that might have relatives or loved ones in the area can contact them for information. A non-profit organization called Women on Waves is a Dutch women's rights group. They have made an event that directly goes against Poland's restrictive abortion laws. This event unfolds in the German city of Frankfurt an der Oder, which borders Poland. The group is flying an unmanned drone aircraft across the border of Germany into Poland carrying abortion pills that are illegal to distribute in the country. Women on Waves usually delivers these pills by boat, but a protest was made when they came to Poland last time, so they decided to try something new. The drone will be flying and delivering pills to individual women who would not be able to receive them otherwise. An ultra-Catholic group in Poland is calling this drone the Drone of Death.
So, Rob, it's time for us to move on to our next feature. It's a listener favorite. It's my favorite and your favorite too. It is
Destination Germany, where we're going to take you on a journey somewhere in the country. We think it is well worth a visit, whether you're a tourist.
Whoa, you're really going off message here. Wow, it's like I think as a listener, you probably know that Rob says the same thing every week. But now he's mixing it up a little. Whoa, he's only briefly glancing at the script, so that's something new. So yes, you can find out with us right now in this feature about the cool and maybe even little-known places in Deutschland. But whether you live here, whether you're a German or whether you're here as a foreigner, or even if you're abroad and you're thinking of planning a trip to Europe, we're going to show you some really cool places to visit in this country.
That is correct.
And also, you can go to our website for... Rob, go. It's your turn.
for This Week in Germany.de.
Or to see...
Pictures. We will have pictures of our website of the destination.
That was a very professional intro. Last week, we had a destination that was a little out of the ordinary. In fact, it wasn't an actual destination at all, which kind of makes no sense. But it was a road, so more of an experience. That's it. That's right.
A famous road.
Yes, and it was not just any road. It was, as you said, the famous Reichsstraße 1, which is now the Bundesstraße 1, that goes all the way east to west across the country. So we have some great photos of it on our site of some of the views that you can get while on this old highway. But are we on the road again? Rob, where are we off to?
This week is going to be a destination that has exciting architecture and design, but it might not be what you think. Germany is famous for having a lot of different styles of really old architecture and well-restored furnishings that people come from all over the world to see. However, this week we're traveling to the very, very, very southwest edge of Germany, to the town of Weil am Rhein, to look at a design museum, as well as a showroom of sorts that is open to the public. The Swiss family-owned furniture store called Vitra.
But you say it's a Swiss family and it's all the way in the corner, but it is still in Germany, right?
Just barely. The Swiss border is literally just about a mile away from the Vitra campus, and the French border is even closer.
So this is probably, like we've spoken about some of these locations in the past where they have a really mixed culture because they're right on the border.
It does. It has an extremely mixed culture. It's a pretty small city. It only has about 30,000 people, but because of this, all these different cultures are coming together. So you see a lot of the different types of cultures from the different countries within the city. Many businesses that are neighbors here are part of the reason for the city's growth and success.
So Weil am Rhein is in the southeast corner, and if my geography is correct, that could place it in the state of Baden-Württemberg, right?
Yes, Weil am Rhein is in the state of Baden-Württemberg, and so is the feature of this segment. The architecture show area, or campus as they call it, in the Design Museum of Vitra.
It's become really fashionable recently to call a group of buildings a campus. I mean, Apple does it as well.
Same with Google. Yeah, Google has a campus.
Yeah, but normally it's universities have a campus. So, yeah, but this is a design museum. Is this at all a university, at all an educational place, apart from being a museum? Do they teach there?
They don't actually teach. They design there, and they also show you some of the concepts that they have come up with. But what really, really caught my eye, it was why I decided to pick this as a place that I think our listeners would like, is because I saw a 100-foot, it's about 30-meter sculpture that they just added about a year ago in June of 2014. It's a metal observation tower that you can get a really great view of both the campus, so all around the Vitra Center, as well as the city in Weil am Rhein, and the countryside, which is really beautiful all around. You can see the mountains as well as all the countryside.
Yeah, all of that green stuff. Yeah. Rob, one second. I don't understand. Is it an observation deck or is it an art sculpture? I'm completely confused.
It's both. It's a architectural work of art, as well as being a functional tower that is right outside the Vitro campus, so you can get a good view of the area. But it's not only that, it has a function as well, and it's fun.
So it's beautiful and functional, just like me. So you say it's fun. Is it fun to look at, or it's fun to be on the top and look at some green things, or what?
While it is nice to look at as a statue and as a work of art, as well as being really nice to be able to go up and see the good view from the observation tower, it can also be used as recreation. Once you're at the top, there is a giant spiraling tube slide that will get you back down to the bottom.
That sounds terrifying. The most terrifying work of art ever.
Well, you don't have to worry that much, because if you're nervous about being enclosed in a small space, like that small slide going all the way down from the top to the bottom of 100 feet, then you won't feel that enclosure, because there's glass going on the top of the slide, so you can see out and see the world spinning by you as you make your way from the top to the bottom.
Very nice. And I guess that this slide is open to the public, right?
It is. Those visiting the Vitra campus, which is open daily, you can go on that slide in between noon and 4 p.m. when the weather's nice. So if it's raining and pouring and there's thunderstorms coming down and lightning, it's probably not the best time to be on top of a metal tower.
No, that's very sensible advice, Rob. Thank you for that. We want to warn all of our listeners never to climb onto a metal observation tower in a thunderstorm. And if you are in an accident involving climbing on a metal tower in a thunderstorm, then we are not responsible for you taking that risk. So, what else can you see at their campus other than the artistic observation deck that has a giant slide?
The campus is a huge place. It's like an architectural playground park that shows off some amazing structures that they have, as well as some of the home and office furniture that they produce. As you walk through the campus, you'll be taken aback by some of these designs. They're nothing that you see on a normal street corner in Germany.
So they're kind of like otherworldly, shocking, freakish designs.
Well, it's like kind of like ultra-modern design, if you can picture that.
Yes, I can. So you can see inside, was it like shop windows? You can just see inside, and there's some beautiful furniture which I can't afford. Or what?
You can actually go inside of a lot of the buildings and see the great design. So you can see the great design from both the architectural design on the outside, as well as going inside and see the furniture design of which you can put in these beautiful buildings.
And the museum, the design museum itself?
The design museum is coming up on being 30 years old, and it looks like something straight from the future, from science fiction. They have accumulated a huge collection of modern furniture, and they have it on display for the delight of the public. I can most likely do an entire segment just on this museum.
But that really isn't necessary, Rob. I mean, this section has gone on quite long enough.
Okay, I will tell you that they have a permanent masterpiece collection that is there year-round, as well as having rotating exhibitions as well.
They're rotating?
Yes, they go around in a circle. No, they don't go around in a circle. Well, they might go around in a circle. I haven't been there yet, but I want to go. They have different exhibitions throughout the year. Also, if you like modern furniture, I would highly recommend checking this place out because it is, after all, a modern furniture museum.
And if you want to see what the Vitra Campus, the design museum, and that crazy metal sculpture thing, what it all looks like, you can go to our website, thisweekingermany.de, and we'll have some great photos of what you can expect on your visit to the Vitra Campus in Weil am Rhein. Next up, our German of the Week section, where we put the spotlight on a prominent person from this week's news, a German citizen, or even a foreigner who we deem an honorary German, who's had an effect, for better or worse, on German culture, society, or politics.
This episode's German of the Week needs no introduction, but she will receive one everywhere she goes. She's not German, though she does have German roots, and she's known and admired by people all over the world. She is the Queen of England. Queen Elizabeth II is our German of the Week this episode, because she has, this past week, made a state trip to the country between June 23rd and the 26th. This is actually the Queen's 5th state trip that she has made to Germany, but it is said to be one of the last state trips that she will make. She flew into Tegel Airport in Berlin with her husband Prince Philip, and they were greeted with military honors, including a 21-gun salute and military jet fighters flying overhead. Chancellor Angela Merkel was there to welcome them and their party to Germany. The Queen was able to take a nice boat trip down the Spree River in Berlin, and then have a personal meeting with Angela Merkel in her offices. Though not here in official political capacity, both the Queen and Merkel hope that this meeting can strengthen ties between Britain and Europe. She flew with German President Joachim Gauck to Frankfurt. There, they listened to the city's cathedral choir with 60 children singing German songs about the freedom of thought. Later, President Gauck presented the Queen with presents, including marzipan and a painting by a famous German artist. The painting was of the Queen's father, George VI, leading the young Elizabeth on a horse. The Queen remarked that the horse was a funny color, probably because it was blue. She flew back to Berlin for the state dinner that was also attended by the United Kingdom's Prime Minister David Cameron, and during this visit, the Queen did say that she hopes Britain can stay with Europe. She ended her trip on Friday with a trip to North Germany to visit the concentration camp Bergen-Belsen that was liberated by British troops 70 years ago. She met and spoke with camp survivors and took a tour of the grounds. She has now flown back to England after the successful trip. Everywhere she visited in Germany, there were crowds of people just waiting to get a chance to glance Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Well, as Her Majesty has left, so must we leave too. It's the end of episode number 78, and we put a ton of work into every week's episode. So, Rob, how can our listeners support us?
Well, one of the biggest ways is just sharing us with your friends or family or people that you don't know. Just walk down the street and be like, hey, you guys should definitely listen to this podcast. It's called This Week in Germany. I think you'll love it. They're like, who are you? Be like, I'm just a guy that's giving you some good information. But if you could also just go to social media like Facebook, Twitter, and share us from there. It is one of the best ways to support us.
That's exactly right.
I'd like to also give a big thank you to Ben Knight for joining us this week in our top story. If you want to read more from Ben, take a look at his website, benknight.de.
This Week in Germany is produced by me, Daniel Winter. It is written and presented by myself and Rob Bishop. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back in 7 days with more of This Week in Germany.